Ever found yourself looking into a Badlands, pondering what you could build with terracotta? Said nobody ever. Never, ever, 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 ever. Anyways, well, that's this week's build challenge. My name is Tree, and let's just take you on a little adventure of how to use terracotta in a build. Let's just take a look at the build palette this week. So we are going to go for some terracotta. And we're going to go for some Cut Sandstone. This was all voted on in the Discord, so thank you very much for those who voted for the Badlands block palette for this week. Thanks, I guess. You also voted for me to build a castle, so we'll jump straight into the time-lapse and we'll talk over how on earth I'm going to use this terracotta here. Yep, thanks for that. But we're not going to build here. Let me just swiftly jump across to where we're actually going to be building, because this was the biome that you voted for. Let's go. And if by magic, you might have guessed it. You want me to build that in the Nether. So let's go ahead, let's use the Badland blocks. Let's build a castle in the Nether. Okay, this should be fun. Here we go. So firstly, thank you very much for everyone who watched the last video and also helped us get over 400 subscribers. Thank you very much. So this one, obviously, as you know, you guys get to vote for block palette, the biome, and also the theme of the build, which, as we said, is Badlands, Nether, and a castle. So here we go. So this is what we're putting together today. As you can see, we sort of flattened out a little bit of the Nether just to kind of build upon initially, which we then will later then build up and make it sort of integrate a little bit better. But we started off with the terracotta blocks. Now, I've never really built with terracotta before, so this was a bit nervy, only because they're quite flat. Normally I like to build with things like trapdoors and walls and fences and gates, just to provide a bit more depth to the actual build. So this one was way different, only because we had to work with like textures, no textures, but more gradients in the effects. Now you'll see later on how we were able to actually make that better, and you can actually see us doing it here. We started building the towers with the sandstone. And one of the comments was made when I was building this is it looks a little bit more like sort of like a dripping effect coming down from the tower, as if it's infesting coming down the way, which I thought was really, really nice. It just creates a little bit more of an effect for the towers. But you'll see more of them as we kind of go through the video. Moving on to the sort of the towers, this is where you can really start to see me using the alternative block. So terracotta is like the main walls and the actual main construction of the build, but each of the details of the whole castle itself will be built up of all the cut sandstone variations being part of the Badlands block palette. Now here's probably one of my favourite things of the entire build is the turrets. We use the walls with the crimson wood on top just to kind of emphasise it's in the Nether a little bit, so a little bit of inspiration from the biome. And then obviously just put the iron gates on top, and with the iron gates, the fences and obviously the walls, it creates this sort of peaking effect, or sort of spiked edges, which I thought really kind of gave a little bit more of a darker sort of Nether feel to it. You know, it's a little bit more ominous. I think that's why I picked this music to go behind it today as well, to try and kind of add into that ominous vibe. So here we come with the actual central spire of the build. The central spire, again, all built up of terracotta. I decided just to use the one colour and then build on top of it, because the gradient came from the bottom to the top. So I was quite happy with the colour variant, especially being with the basalt behind as well. I thought this colour variation of terracotta worked quite well. So my first confession is we didn't use all the terracotta. I used some of them that I thought worked well as a palette. For the gradient, but also for the biome that we're building in. I think if we were to be more of a crimson forest, we might have went for more reds and more vibrant colours, but because we're in the basalt, when I picked this purposely because I liked the location, I think it made it a little bit nicer. So you can see just there before, we actually used a bit of world edit to take the roof out, because I did make it a little bit too big. And talking about making it too big, yeah, I outdone myself this time. As I said in previous video, this is the 5th one of the series now. I normally try and keep these to under 4 hours, because we stream on a Wednesday for 4 hours. So I normally try to keep it under that. And this was 3 hours and 55 minutes worth of footage. And it was good. You know, I like to sort of challenge myself, but this is probably the biggest, most outlandish one I've done in a one stream. So thank you very much everyone that tuned into the stream, gave us some ideas. It really sort of helped to sort of put this together. And also keep me motivated, because it was very difficult to not want to focus on the interior. So the castle's built up. It's just the exterior. I think if I was to come back to this in the future, which I'm probably looking like I'm going to be very keen to just focus on the interior and more of the smaller details you guys might be more interested in, rather than the actual overall build. But on the side of the build, you can see I put a little bit more of a texture using the black, I think it's black and red glazed terracotta. I think it could be red, I can't remember, it's one or the other. And that looks really, really nice. It sort of brings that sort of depth to the colours now, as if it's like a glazed window almost. I didn't want to use glass, I wanted to try and use all the terracottas if I could. And using the powers of World Edit, I was able to then replicate that on all 4 sides eventually. So yeah, so this was definitely a challenging one. I've never really built in the Nether. See, I have got shaders on for this, guys. I do use complementary shaders, and they're okay. I mean, I've always built in the overworld. Obviously, we built in the end already. You've seen that video maybe already. I'll put the description, the video link in the description. If you haven't seen that, it's part of this playlist. This was our first Nether build with complementary shaders, so the settings are not quite perfect. If anyone has any suggestions, honestly, fire them in the comments. Let me have a look at some of your complementary shader settings for the Nether. I'd love to see them, because I couldn't quite get the brightness quite right. I turned a lot of the bloom effects off to make it more natural, but I maybe think the lighting could be a little bit better. So coming onto the walls on the side of the build, I loved the walls. Like, I honestly adored the walls. The walls, the turret, the top of the turret, the effect with the cut sandstone. Honestly, I'm in love with this build. Completely off the cuff as well. I can't believe I actually managed to pull this one off, because everything we're building here, I didn't practice. So I'm very happy with how this one turned out with the sandstone, with the texture, the depth. It just gave a really nice ominous feel to the Nether, which I wasn't fully expecting to achieve, because this was definitely the most nervous one I've ever had. Without doubt. Building with the terracotta, never done that before. Building the Nether, not really built anything like this before, and I think it turned out quite well, especially those walls. It really adds into it. It's almost like a bigger fortress. So if anyone has any lore hats on, I'd love to see what your lore would be for this build. You know, who lives here? What do they do? What's the boss? What's the end goal of this person? Is it Bowser? I'd love to see what your lore is for this one. So yeah, so we started to use World Edit again to kind of piece in the back, try and sort of have it like maybe encompassing into an actual part of the Nether itself, just like what you have with some of the fortresses and a lot of the bastions. So this was kind of the same feel. I did leave obviously a little bit of floor space down below for maybe sort of like spawners and mobs and things like that we want to put in the future, once we come back to all these builds, to maybe put a bit more detail on them. Working up the tower, I started to put a little bit more into it. I didn't like just having it grey, so we started to use a little bit more of the redstone. I say redstone, it's sandstone again, sorry, to sort of putting some details in it, so it's a little bit more impactful and a little bit more colourful than just the grey. So you can kind of see me trying to work on World Edit here. I'm an idiot. I tried to use it the best I can. There was a few times where I had to make sort of back and forth adjustments as we kind of went through it. We're kind of coming up to the end of the build just now. We're just kind of got this bottom corner here to work on. Is the wall at our close side here. We just have that to add in this next little bit of footage. So you'll see me getting the World Edit out again. And we built the wall along, and then we also put another turret to the left hand side to pull this one together. Honestly, I'm super impressed with this one. I can't believe I managed to pull it off. I'll jump into obviously speak to other me in the world. I'll take you for a little bit of a tour and just kind of highlight some of the things and go into a bit more detail of some of the blocks so you can have a closer up look for anyone taking notes. But thank you very much again for everyone who voted during this one. I love this one. Terracotta, Cut Sandstone. Yep, awesome. It's certainly awesome indeed, my friend. Yeah, this one turned out way better than I expected. Using terracotta, yeah, it's not bad actually. I think obviously I have to come to detail and it might be a little bit more problematic, but we'll save that one for another rainy day. So let's just take a little bit of a look around at some of the sort of features that I quite like the most. Particularly I was talking about the turrets. Let's just take a little look in more detail, just if you guys want to take a little look at them again. You can see obviously the walls, crimson fence, and the iron sort of gates above with those sort of spike effects. A little bit of use of the end rods just to give a sort of bit more of the lighting effect. I like the lanterns, but I think the end rods make it again pointy and a bit more ominous at the top. So love making those. Closer inspection with the walls. Yeah, I do like them. I do like them with the lava coming out it as well. I think the walls really make it with this tower. I'd love to obviously add more mobs and stuff on the top, maybe using the mob mod pack that I have. That could be really good to add some actual mobs on the top, maybe walk in or on a path at the top, some wither skellies. It could be really good to add in there as well. The interior of the actual castle is done as well. Maybe not too clear in the video, but you can see obviously around the outsides we have done certain parts of the path system, which we could then later turn into actually part of the build. So that's probably some of the things I like the most about this, is the ability to sort of make this huge. Like, I'm thinking like a big massive bell tower in the middle and some interior details. Now it's 3 hours and 55 minutes. It was a long sort of time lapse and a long recording, this one, compared to normal. But yeah, so overall I really like this one. I think there's a lot of room for improvement on the interior, which we could probably do in another video. I'll maybe save that for a Twitch stream, so I'll put the link in down below, guys, for the Twitch, and we might catch ourselves one evening just jumping back into here and playing with the actual interior of the build, as well as obviously some of the more finer details. But yeah, there we go. So yeah, I love this one, guys. So all I can say for everyone that did watch live on Twitch, thank you very much for your time. As ever, having you guys along for the builds on Twitch on a Wednesday night is just so supportive, and for everyone obviously that votes in the Discord. So if you've made it this far in my YouTube video, again, you're absolute legends. Be sure to sort of hit that subscribe button if you haven't, or comment down below your thoughts on the build or any of the block palettes or themes that you might want to see me building in the future. I would greatly appreciate it. So until the next video, guys, thank you very much for your support over here on YouTube. It's been immense, and I'll hopefully catch you guys all very, very soon for another build video. Until the next video, guys, have an incredible week, and I'll catch you all very, very soon, either on Twitch or maybe next week here on YouTube. Bye!